My wife Janet and I, we just hosted our first Harmonious Relationship Webinar for couples. Actually, in fact, we did two in the last 24 hours, and it's something that I'm very, very excited about because over the last number of days, number of weeks, we've been brainstorming together, working together on trying to put some of our experiences and observations and insights together for the people that we want to serve in this area. And, the whole time, because we're just, on pen and paper and just between us, a lot of it is conceptual and theorizing. And we didn't really know how it was going to land for people. We weren't even sure if anyone was going to show up for these webinars. So in that sense, it was definitely very raw, very real, and we just went with the flow. And it's something that I'm really, really grateful that we actually got to get some real live experience with these webinars and some feedback about it. And I think this is so important because I think when we have gifts to share, I know for myself, like for instance, I wrote a book a number of years ago, a 30,000 word manuscript that because of my own doubt, my own fear, and my own perfectionism, it never saw the light of day. And it is so unfortunate how many projects, dreams, gifts just end up collecting dust and they get tucked away and hidden away, and rather than being there to be of service and do good in the world. And really this comes to the point, this truth that I've been meditating on and sharing with some of the videos lately is this idea that your gifts, they are not your own. They're God's. You're just a steward. And I think it's so important that we realize that we can't keep them hidden because in some way it'll start to eat away at us. And so something that I'm very passionate about talking about with you guys today. But before we get into it, I'm Oliver Manalesa. For the past 13 years, I've been serving as a guide for high achievers, helping them end the war within and create peaceful prosperity in their lives and in their businesses. If you feel like you are in a season where you're ready to quit hiding and you want to use your gifts and do good in the world with them, you don't want to be held back by perfectionism any longer, then I would love to hold a space for you to slow down, untangle the mess, and reconnect you with your purpose with one of my guidance sessions. Feel free to use the link below and we will spend 90 minutes together cutting through the fog and getting you that clarity towards taking the next step. Use the link below, set up a guidance session with me, and I look forward to helping you then. So one of the things that I think is so important for us to remember is that as we pursue our soul's next evolution, as we try to grow ourselves, we are actually blocking that growth, that evolution, when we don't share our gifts, when we don't hit publish, when we don't release that product, that service, that thing that we've birthed from our hearts that we know could not only be aligned with our passions and our purpose, but actually do some good in someone's life. I think when we lack that real feedback from the market, from our dream clients, from the universe, it could actually end up suffocating that dream a little bit with more of that doubt and perfectionism. That getting that feedback, it's not going to come from working behind the scenes all the time in a laboratory. It comes from implementing. It comes from taking action. It comes from sticking your neck out and putting yourself on the line with that risk of making a mistake, with that risk of looking like a fool sometimes. So this whole aspect of our gift needing to be seen, it really requires trust on our part. So very, very luckily, for Janet and I, over the years, we've had many different projects. We've been entrepreneurs for many years. So we've gone through this cycle to know that even though there's this doubt around, are people going to show up? Is it going to be received well? Is it going to be of value? We have learned over time to trust that intuition, that there's a reason why our gifts are being called in this direction and that we're being called to collaborate. And it's been part of our job to just, obey our intuition, obey God in that sense. Because if we don't, then we will succumb to that temptation of hiding behind research. I think that's one of the things that is so we can mistake research and learning more and getting more experience and training and watching more videos. It can feel productive. It can feel like you're doing something. But if there's no real consequence, you're not really taking a risk, you're not making yourself vulnerable, you're not actually using your gifts to do good, to share it so that it can solve someone's problem, relieve someone's pain, help elevate someone's situation, it is actually a form of hiding. It is a form of delaying until you're quote unquote ready. And I think in a lot of the sessions that I've had with high achievers who get stuck in this place and we start to untangle some of the mess, underneath it all is really this fear of rejection, this fear of being judged, this fear of being seen. And it's so interesting, right? Like as human beings, we have a deep need to be seen, but we also have a fear of being seen. I think one of the examples that comes to my mind is one of my clients. He came to a group call and we started to hit this nerve of how excited and passionate he gets when it comes to personal development and helping people see their potential, and how he used to be on this crazy streak of showing up on Facebook Lives and sharing these quick videos that are from his heart, from his soul. And because of this conversation in this session, we just poured into him. We infused him with our belief to get him to the place where he's just like, I'm going to get out of my own way, and I'm going to hit go live on Facebook every single day. And he did that for the next 2 weeks. And what was so beautiful was that comments started to come in, messages started to come in, affirming his gifts, recognizing his light. And not only that, one of those messages turned into somebody who said, hey, what would it look like for me to hire you as my coach? And so it went from him afraid of being judged, of showing up and being seen, to getting himself out there, getting some feedback and affirmation, to landing his actual first ever paying coaching client. And so, my friend, I think it's so important that we realize our gifts need exposure. They need light. I think another aspect here is like we can succumb to shiny object syndrome. And it might not look like the way that we might think. It might not necessarily be jumping project to project, idea to idea. It might be just looking at what someone else is doing, and we're comparing ourselves. And we actually think that because something is more complex or looks more sexy or looks more fancy, that we need to adopt it. And then there's this romance and this excitement around something new that by pursuing it, we get to, be in that joy of it, of that romance, of that excitement. But eventually that will start to fade, and you'll be met with that same friction and resistance as with any project. So it's, when we move forward on something that is so of value and so meaningful for us, of course it's going to get to parts where it's not all fun, where it's not all, just easy and simple and just going with the flow. There's parts where you're going to be met with resistance. But by moving forward and getting to the other side of it, you start to get some incredible gifts in return. For me and Janet, the people who attended last night and the people who attended this afternoon, they helped remind us, wow, yes, we are onto something. They infused this energy inside of us to keep going, to get ready and host the next one. It gave us so much more clarity and direction on what to do next, on how to pursue it next. So not only did it help sharpen some of our ideas and help us, own the fact that, wow, like that, this point and that point and these stories and these observations, like they are hitting a nerve. They are so impactful. Like not only did it help with that, but it actually helped us realize that, okay, even more for the next time when we do face some resistance or rejection or fear of being judged, then it's going to, this is going to help us get through that. We have something to turn back to. Like we can actually, that's something that my wife is so good at, is looking back and remembering these pieces of evidence that support the journey, that support the path, that support our passion. So that power that's inside of us, it starts to grow as you stay in the middle of the difficulty, as you recommit and you make tiny little iterations forward based on feedback that you are getting. You actually start to gain a momentum of your own. And if we don't do this, there's not only do the people that we're meant to serve, not only do they miss out, because the people that we're here to help, they can't wait for us to get things perfected, for us to get it to a place where we feel like we're ready. They need that help now. They need that insight. They need that transformation. They need that empowerment. They need that witness from you right now. They can't afford to keep waiting. So I think it's so important that if we do delay, not only do they miss out, but it often turns into bitterness inside of us bubbling up. We start to feel that sense of burnout because we're not getting that feedback loop. Because as you give and you get some of that energy back, it helps you perpetuate that energy. It helps you stay in motion. And then if we stay stuck in that hiding, that place where we're not letting our gifts be seen, we start believing all the stories, believing all the lies that our fear-based part of our brain, our survival mechanism, tells ourselves. And then it starts to hurt not just the people who are not going to get a chance to be receiving your gift, but you start to get to a place where it starts hurting you. It starts to hurt to carry the weight of your gift because you haven't shared it. And so there's such important takeaways for me and Janet hosting these first few Harmonious Relationship Webinars. It's remembering, it's something that we have to keep learning over and over and over again, is that even though it wasn't perfect, it was real. And that's what mattered, is that we showed up and we stuck our neck out and we used our gifts to try to do some good. And it actually turned into real validation. It turned into real feedback. Now we have people, based on what they've said and the messages that they sent us already, like how much this matters. Even one person said, every couple before they get married needs to do this work with you, needs to do this course with you. It would help prevent so much for future damage. And you know what that means for us? Like, that is something that we can always refer back to. Anytime we feel like we get lost, we get lost in the sauce, so to speak, we can go back to that and be like, no, you know what? This is who we're doing it for. It's for those people. This is the reason why. And that helps us reconnect to our direction. So when we finally launch, when we finally hit publish, when we finally release, when we give our gifts, that is actually, it's a new beginning. It's not the end. It's a new beginning of this sense of energy that continues to perpetuate. And it actually begins with you being able to serve even just one person. One of the things that my wife is always really good at saying, especially when it comes to these webinars, she's just like, we're going to serve one person as if they're 100, as if they're 1,000 people. Like whoever shows up today, we're going to serve that one person. God, the entire universe has conspired to bring this one person with us for the next 2 hours. We are going to pour into their life. And we're going to treat them with that much reverence and respect because that's what we're here to do. Something brought us together. That divine timing brought us together. So my friend, you do not need more time. You need more trust. You need to start before you're ready. You need to be willing to give your gifts away because Your gifts aren't meant to be clenched and held onto and hoard. It's meant for you to give. That's what God wants from us, is to use the gifts that he's given us to give them. So my friend, if you would like me to hold space for you, to untangle some of the messes that might be in the way of you doing more good with your gifts, please use the link below and schedule a guidance session with me. If you don't feel like you are ready to go that deep just yet, feel free to use the link below to read my book, The Daily Prosperity Method. It is available as a digital book and an audio book. Would love for you to check that out. And if you're interested in that couples work that we are doing, I'll put a link for that below for the next upcoming Harmonious Relationship Webinar. And until next time, be well.